Hello everyone, my name is Diana and today I'm going to talk about Charles Geschke, the co-founder of Adobe Systems. But first of all, I would like to start with one of his quotes, which is, "If you aren't passionate about what you're going to do, don't do it. Work smart and not long, because you need to preserve all of your life, not only your work life." So let's get started. Adobe Systems Incorporated is the real name of the company, and it has a funny story of how the name was coined. Charles mentioned that when the enterprise was being created, he was looking at a map of the area where they were working, and he saw that behind his house there was this place named Adobe Creek, and he told his co-worker, "What about Adobe Systems?" And the other one said, "Yeah, it's okay." So that's how the name started. Adobe Systems has focused upon the creation of multimedia and creativity products, with more recent venture towards digital marketing and publishing systems. This is the logo, which hasn't really changed much since the creation of the company. Adobe Systems focuses, as I told you, on publishing software development, but it has a lot of history. The first one was PostScript, which we will talk about it later. Then they helped Apple develop the laser writer printer, and last but not least, the graphics and desktop publisher software development. For example, Photoshop. The founders are these two guys, Charles Geschke and John Warnock. They knew each other when Charles was working at a company named Xerox. He was in charge of a new printer system, and he had to hire a chief scientist for the Xerox Graphics and Printing Technologies lab. So that man was John Warnock. They really became friends, so they actually like to work with each other. Later on, they came up with Interpress, a network that could connect printers and computers, which basically was a way that printers and computers could talk to each other. And this was the precursor of PostScript. They were so happy because of this project, and actually pretty proud of it, because a lot of other companies were trying to develop something similar, but none has achieved it. So when they came to this management and tell them about the project, they said that it was the greatest project they've ever seen, but that they will take a little more time to actually publish it and let it to the public. And they were like, "How long?" The management answered that it will take up to 7 years, as I can remember. Yeah, approximately 5-7 years. And they said it cannot be, because this is brand new. This software will be old by that time. So they received little support and decided that they will start their own business. From the beginning, someone named Bill Hamsbert supported the project by loaning money to Charles and John to get a place to work and some equipment. The first clients were Gordon Bell from the Digital Equipment Corporation and Steve Jobs, of course, from Apple, who were looking for the new software rather than the computers and printers. This is the thing. When Gordon Bell and Steve Jobs went to the founders of Adobe, John and Charles were selling the software, the computer, and the printer. But the clients didn't need nor the software, nor the printer, nor the computer, because Apple has already developing the Macintosh, and for printers they had Canon, so they didn't need it. And they asked for Adobe to lend them the software, but they say that they were not actually selling that they had to buy everything as a whole. Nevertheless, they once later talked to someone named Q.T. Wiles, I think that's the way it is pronounced, and they tell them about what had happened with Steve Jobs and Bell, and Weil said, "You're stupid. Can you see that your clients are actually telling you what they need? If you don't need this, change the idea, change the business idea, and focus now on the needs of your real clients." So they changed the business plan and now focus on developing a new software, which was let me go back, which was this one, PostScript. Once that they sell now the software, Adobe licenses Apple with their software for the development of laser grader. The project was almost cancelled because it was so pricey, but Steve Jobs decided that they had to take this risk, and it was actually a successful project. Later on the life of the company, they saw that Apple and Aldos were also creating some desktop publishing applications. So they decided that instead of make this a competition, they will reunite and start something named desktop publishing, which is basically the development of software for publishing and like graphic design. As these Adobe systems were more popular between enterprises, they signed an agreement with HP and IBM. Nevertheless, some enterprises such as Apple and Microsoft were getting tired of paying the licenses of the software, and they said, okay, we don't need your product anymore. We will use something, a clone implementation. But they decided in the future that it wouldn't work, so they get back to license the Adobe system. As this area of opportunity became wider, more and more companies started to develop typewriting and design software. So Adobe develops products such as you could see in the first image, Illustrator, Photoshop. They were not only now focusing on printers and computers, that they were focusing on the things that could be done. Because back when they were working at Xerox, the printing industry was only to like print a normal sheet of paper with some black and white text on it. But things such as images or text in color was a very difficult one. So they took this chance and they started developing software for this. Nowadays, Adobe provides leading software for the desktop publishing, and most of the computers and cell phones use their software for things such as printing or even playing your video games. Also in pages where there are like a lot of graphics, such as, imagine again, video games or maybe a design app. It's working with some of the Adobe publishing system. Now, talking a little bit more specifically about the idea development, Adobe was created on the basis of Enterprise, which was created at Xerox, and PostScript, which is the original and first work in the Adobe Center. Again, they were trying to make possible that a computer and a printer could communicate to each other. The original idea was to build laser prints and typesetting that could produce both text and images, and it basically stayed the same except for the laser prints. They didn't need to build the printers because a lot of other enterprises were already in that process, and the other companies were searching for the software. So they, as I told you, they changed the business plan and they focused on the software. Apple and digital equipment corporations licensed PostScript for their own printers. As you can remember in this one, the Apple Laser, the Apple Laser Graded printer was working with the software of Adobe. As more clients appear, Adobe developed more software for the publishing and design industry. An example of this are Illustrator and Photoshop, which were created for the needs of the modern graphic illustrator, and also because of photography. There were a lot of programs who were focusing on graphics and publishing, but they were letting aside photograph. So they decided that it was a great opportunity gap to get into. And last, Adobe has allied with other software developers to create innovative programs, such as Flash Player, which is the one that I tell you that in case you are using like a web page when you can play, you need Flash Player to see the graphics in the best resolution. Some of the challenges that Charles and Geschke faced were: number one, changing the initial business plan. As I told you, the companies such as DEC, and Apple were not looking for the original plan. They wanted the software. So I think that it was a challenge because they were already creating this. They had always had this plan on creating printers and not really developing the software, but they saw that the opportunity was there, so they had to leave everything aside and start all over again. But it was easier because they already had a place to work and some customers. And number two will be the customers, because some customers were pretty excited for Adobe and their new ideas, but others, such as Microsoft, were not willing to pay any more royalties for the software licenses. So they had to keep up the innovation to face them and tell them, no, you need my projects, you need my products, so keep paying for that. And they actually did. Make people trust your project idea. When Charles and John were working at Xerox, they actually had pretty good positions. So their families, and they had families, they had everything to lose. So their families were like, are you really going to bet on something so uncertain? And they did. They could have said, no, I'm okay, because they were already in their 40s or in late 30s. So as you can see, they were not young and free to do anything they wanted, but they take the greatest decision ever and started their own project. And what did I learn? Well, I will talk about this project with these points and start developing them. I think that the most important will be this one. Entrepreneurship takes time. I think that a lot of people think that you need to start developing a project right away when you are at university or when you just finish your degree. It's like, if you don't act as an entrepreneurship between the 20 and 25 years, there's no other way you're going to succeed. And that's not true, like I tell you. Charles and John were already 40 years old when they started developing this, and it's okay. There is nothing wrong with starting a new project, a new idea, even if you are in your 60s. It's all about changing. Next, there's nothing wrong with working for a company at first. This is also a really good one. Sometimes the needs, the innovation opportunities are not really discovered because no one sees them. But if you work for a company at first, you can see the mistakes they are making and the possibilities they have to succeed in a project. So there's nothing wrong with working for a company at first, and meanwhile you can start creating something for you. Trust your gut for business opportunities. This one I related to Steve Jobs, who, even though the laser writer printer was a little bit expensive and everyone told him no one is going to buy that, stay away of that project, tell the Adobe creators that we don't need their work anymore. He said, I don't care, I'm going to do this because I trust this project, and it actually succeeded. Bring the competitors together to found a new business. As I tell you, Apple, Adobe, and Asus were developing something similar with software for graphic design. So instead of becoming competitors, they decided to join forces to actually provide a much better service. You can be a one-product company and can restrict the company to a single buyer and sales channel. During the reading, they said that they had to keep innovating and bringing up more programs, apps, because that was the requires of the market. So they couldn't stay only with the what would be printer systems, and can restrict the company to a single buyer. This means that at first their biggest and more important buyer was Apple, but they said, okay, but for how long? Apple is already developing some software. If we are not ready, one day they are going to say, hey, I don't need your system anymore, so bye. And what are they going to do? So they decided that they needed to sell this to many more companies in order to succeed. Focus on the future needs of the market and innovation. They said that although there were a lot of companies trying to develop some software for the printer systems, no one succeeded because they were actually focusing on the needs and requirements of the nowadays, well, back then, of the population and the market. They were not fully seeing the whole picture. They wanted to be where the product and the customer will be, not where they are. So they needed to see the opportunities they had, and from that develop software. Because if you start developing software from the needs that you see right now, when you finally get the software, it will be too old, or it wouldn't be required anymore. Have the vision to do more for your customers than they expected. They also mentioned, Charles Geschke, that a lot of the customers were like, but I'm only paying for this, and they were, no, you can try this project too, and when I finish developing this product you can have a free trial. So they were actually doing much more to make them feel certain about the future of the Adobe Systems Corporation, and they will like feel like they care to the enterprise. And lastly, the power of getting good advice and having the nerve to take it. There was a part where I told you that they met with someone and they said, hey, it's that digital equipment corporations and Apple want our software, but we are not selling software. And he said, you're stupid, guys. Change that idea. Go, you're seeing actually the project, so go for it. You don't have to keep on doing something that it's not required. If the customers are asking for something, then do that. And that was the advice, but they could have said, no, it's my project, it's not yours, and I don't care, and they might not have actually succeeded. So having the nerve to take it is actually pretty difficult, because they could have said it like, no, why do you care about my project? It was my plan, I won't change it. But they didn't. They had, I think that they had much more than they expected. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you will like it, and bye.